I need to check my mental and physical and
Oh,
emotional well-being after
spiritual.
this game because surprisingly, you and I were not texting during this a lot. We kind of, we're both kind of doing
We're too
whatever.
stressed.
Um, this game was crazy, KG, and not really a good crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it here. Number 15, South Carolina beats number 12, Clemson, 17-14. Mac, I am going to pat myself on the back for a second because we can pull the tape. We can go back to when we were talking Clemson, Carolina. And I said, I felt like the biggest factor in this game was Lenora Sellers when the play breaks down.
Yeah.
And oh my God. I mean, that was their entire offense. That was all
Yeah.
17 points. Like that, that's what South Carolina did. Lenora Sellers ended up with 166 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 16 carries. He had more rushing yards than Clemson total. So we saw what he did there. I mean, he's incredible. I'm not trying to take anything away from Lenora Sellers. He was fantastic. And to come back after throwing that pick in the red zone, not be rattled as just a redshirt freshman, I think I speak for all Clemson fans when I say I do not want to see that guy for another 3 years. And that is going to be the reality, which, is tough. But Mac, okay, I'm asking you, as someone who played the game, at what point do you just say, you almost get in a prevent defense, but I'm not talking about the secondary. I'm talking about the front seven. Like, how do you just kind of make a circle around this guy? You don't even really need to rush him, right? Because that was the issue. He was throwing off tackles like it was nobody's business. He was more slippery than a slip and slide. Like you couldn't even get him. So
Yeah.
why don't you do something like that, Mac? And basically you have to force him to beat him with your arm because they really couldn't do that.
Right. Well,
Help.
here's the deal,
Help me figure
KG.
this out.
I'm not sure on your availability, and I know you have some really seasonal commitments that you
Yeah.
have, and of course, sweet baby Jacob. But if you're up for defensive coordinator like taking that over, what you just said, I mean, that probably going into the game would have been my adjustment. Like after Citadel, basically seeing that and seeing what this guy's done all year. Yeah, that was probably the most disheartening part, because again, if not to discredit us, but if you and I know that going into a game, surely someone who watched tape for who knows how long knew that going into a game. And it was, again, just kind of disheartening, frustrating, annoying, maddening, every possible feeling
Yeah.
you can have to it. That's what it was. And, okay, great. When Clemson dialed up pressures, awesome. They got home, didn't finish, weren't able to get him on the ground. So there's a little bit of, players do your job. There's a little bit of let's call better plays. There's a little bit of let's adjust and make things
Right.
happen. And there's also a little bit of he's a monster and he's a really good player. And congratulations to them. Congratulations to Coach Beamer, Lenoris. I mean, it was fun to watch from just a viewing perspective and like, dang, this dude is good. Like just strictly from a fandom. Now, from my orange and purple heart, it is shattered, and I'm slowly putting it back together. But yeah, I mean that would have been my game plan, no question. From the first quarter on, when you saw that guy not getting tackled, not going down, two things that I would have adjusted immediately. Number one, I would have sat down with the defensive line and said, get to this point and stop.
Yes. Yes.
Do not keep going.
Contain.
Stop. Contain. Keep him right here. Peter Woods, go forward as much as you want. Everybody else, keep him here. Be
Yeah.
ready. Second adjustment is 1, 2, whatever you feel like you can do. Linebacker, probably Sammy Brown is what I would do. Sit here and watch him. Follow him.
Yeah.
Do not get blocked at the line of scrimmage spying by an offensive guard. You can't do that. If you're a spy, you're not supposed to be able to get pass blocked. That's unbelievable. So I really thought that those two things right then and there were outrageous. Now, look, if you want to heat them up, got it. But you have to have some insurance behind. You have to have something ready if he and when he, obviously, broke contain. And we just didn't see that. We didn't see it. And again, you have to give him credit. He broke
Yes,
18
for sure.
tackles. The
It's
most
insane.
I've ever seen. I mean, he was untackable. Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, combine them into one. That's Lenora Sellers. That's what we saw on that day. And again, I do not want to discredit him because he was fantastic
Correct.
creating and running the football, which is great. And he won his team the game, walked off. I mean, it was awesome, for him and to see that. But, just the lack of adjustment there defensively from Clemson was really disturbing. And again, all the other things I've already rattled off.
Yeah, I think you said it well, Mac. And I think everyone would kind of agree with that. And I do think you have to give Lenora Sellers credit. I mean, he was incredible. This D line has been playing well as of late for Clemson. And to only sack him 3 times, I think you said that he basically broke 18 tackles. I mean, he was so elusive. That was wild to watch. And in the end, as a defense, you gave up 17 points. You should be able to win the game giving up 17 points. Clemson, it felt like they moved the ball pretty easily, but the points just didn't come. Finishing in the red zone, of course, you have at the beginning of the game not trying to kick a field goal. And I know people. I tweeted, Mac. I said, "Are we just done taking the points in college football ever again?" And that was more of an overall statement, kind of also relating to Georgia Tech, Georgia, which we're going to get into. I know that Clemson's special teams are bad and they basically don't have a kicker, but it's that early in the game. Maybe you at least try it, see what happens. You might need them later, which was how it was looking towards the end on that final drive. But I thought, for me, Mac, that was just an overall critique of college football as a whole. Going for it, like on 4th and 2 in the first quarter, when you can just take the points. I know what the analytics say, but I feel like sometimes you just got to take points. Am I crazy, Mac? Do you think that was really just because the field goal kicking situation at Clemson is so disastrous right now?
Probably. I mean, that was probably in the back of their mind. And again, I don't think it's a kicker thing. I think it's a protection thing. I mean, I think the kicker is going to be good, and I think he is good. It's just a matter of can you hold your gap and protect for him with that? And probably, I mean, that probably is, what's in the back of mind. And, it's one of those things where you just drove the ball 90 yards. And here's the deal, too. This is why football is so hard. If that kick gets blocked, we are screaming at the top of our lungs, why the heck did you not go for that?
Right. Sure.
But overall picture, football deal, in this type of game, I think everyone knew it was going to be a dogfight. I think, and this is just, again, this is generalities. I think everyone knew that it was going to be a close game and points were at a premium. Very much so unlike Miami and Syracuse, which we'll talk about in a second, where you do not kick the field goal. You have to go for that, and we'll get into that. But in this one, 1 point matters. 3 points certainly matter, and 7 is at a premium. If you kick that then, you're driving down the field with a much different mindset, with the mindset to win. We just need to get in field goal range. And you're not, maybe panicking thinking, you have to do that or you have to score a touchdown. Again, there's so many different things. And as you said, the at times felt like the offense was marching down the field. I thought Cade Klubnik played exceptional. I thought that the offensive line played out of their minds.
They did.
Those
they
great
did.
rush defensive ends.
Gave up 1 sack.
Sniff, and that was a blitzing linebacker, which it was a bad miss. It should have been picked up, but it wasn't on the left guard. But the defensive ends didn't sniff Cade. I mean, they weren't anywhere near that guy. They were super highly talented. Everybody was really worried about. I'll say this: Kennard, 0 sacks on Clemson ever. He's played football for like 5 years, never sacked Clemson quarterback. So anyway, I'm attacking kids. He's a great player. He's going to get drafted and make way more money than I've ever made. Shout out to that guy. But anyway. There was just a lot of that as an offensive lineman, I took to heart, and it hurts my feelings. Kind of challenge our guys. With that said, I thought that there were a couple of moments that Cade Klubnik could have solidified himself as a legend, that he could have solidified himself as one of the best in the country, and he wasn't able to take advantage of that. There was a Bryant Westco slant that might have been a touchdown that he missed. There was the deep shot on 3rd and whatever that I hated. It just didn't make sense. I get maybe one-on-one, no safety help, but we got to convert. We've got to get this going. And of course, to finish the game, the drive was awesome. And he was making great decisions, really nice placement of the football, getting it to his guys. And then it's just it's just crazy how it happens. It wasn't a bad decision.
It was like old Cade, trying to do too much.
Not quite. Yeah, the too much part. And really it's I'm wanting him to get to a place where he just isn't yet, and he will be. He will be next year if he
Yeah.
stays, which I assume he will, and continue to grow. He
Dabo
will be. He
literally
will be
said
that
it.
final.
Dabo literally said it on our podcast last week that he's coming back. So
Right. So, and I assume, I mean, he could jump in the portal, do whatever he wants. Who knows? But I assume he'll be back. Just in that situation, there's 13 seconds left when the play, I guess, stopped. Just throw the ball away. Just launch it out of bounds. I thought when I watched it, it was more of like he was way farther and throwing back to the middle to Phil. It wasn't. It was a fine decision for the moment. It just wasn't a good pass. And you're throwing it to a guy with 2 shoulder braces on that's probably exhausted.
And a
it's
running
behind
back.
him. And a running back, then it's behind him. And so I'm not super critical on the decision. I just would have rather, in the moment, understanding, a lot like Cam, a little bit differently, like throw the ball away, don't get sacked, fumble, game over against Georgia Tech a handful of weeks ago. Just launch it out of bounds. Let's get to the next play. You still have a timeout. You're in field goal range. Don't lose the game. Manage the game. And that's where these exceptional guys, Cade Klubnik, Cam, Ward, are their game breakers, but it's also okay to, in moments, always be a game manager. And so it's so tough. And for it to end that way sucks. And it was a fun game, really. And I love Shane Beamer. I respect the heck out of him. I hate that he's at that program. But you have to give him credit. They're on fire. And I think they deserve to be in the playoff. And they're playing like a team that nobody wants to see. When you look at how they lost, and again, this is about to come into something I do not want it to be, some type of Gamecock love show. The way they lost to LSU, where that game was taken away from them by referees, outrageous. Alabama game right there on the brink, probably could have, should have won. This team legitimately could be 10-1 playing in an SEC championship. And I think the committee should look at that. That's why we have humans, not computers. And they should make that decision to get those guys in the playoff. The last thing I'll say is there was some really, and again, I could talk about this for hours, and we need to hurry up. You got a baby, I got a baby, we got stuff to do. There were some coaching decisions that I did not love. We already addressed the kick. It seems like it never fails, KG, that you're in a place where you can take hold of a situation and some silly, borderline dumb decision is made to run a star meet up in the middle reverse kickoff play that loses you the game. You don't go to playoff in 2022. A double reverse.
That was so bad.
In a time that felt so out of place, so out of whack. You have the momentum. You have everything going for. What are you running it for? Fumble, boom, touchdown. And it's just like, what are we thinking? Why? What's the purpose? And even if some people are saying, well, if he didn't get his foot stepped on and if the guy blocks here is good, it's a great play. Even then, I would be pissed and annoyed that it's being ran. Just play. Just go. And I'll never forget back in, I think it was maybe 2013, we're playing at their house. We're running the ball 7 yards a carry. Out of nowhere, we call a double reverse pass. Sammy Watkins throws an interception, game over. We lost all momentum. Over. It's just like weird, silly stuff. Yeah, like super PTSD, super weird stuff. Running jet sweep or toss sweep to a 230-pound running back yet again to the boundary. It's just, I don't know, KG. I don't know who's calling it. I don't know whose responsibility is. It's frustrating. It doesn't make sense. Get Jay Haynes in the freaking game.
Maffa's obviously not healthy. I think we'd all agree.
Close. Not even close.
And so that also makes. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
It also makes the decision to throw him that ball on the final possession even more interesting. Yeah. I thought I have 2 more thoughts, and then we need to get on to Syracuse and to Georgia Tech because that game was insane. I thought we saw a classic run, punt. That's what I've always used to call it when we did radio. Run, punt from Dabo in the fourth quarter, just so conservative. And it's ironic because the reason you do that is to avoid the pick you threw on the final drive. So it's just like, I guess, choose one or the other. And then I am not saying this to be mean. I am not saying this to be a sassy tater, South Carolina fans. But Mac, if I know anything about the committee and if I know anything about college football, mark my words, they will put Alabama in over South Carolina, specifically because Bama beat South Carolina. So I think it really helps Carolina if Clemson goes and beats SMU, but
Yeah.
and I don't think it's right. I would put South Carolina in over Alabama. But the
Yeah.
head to head and the bias, like Alabama's going to find their way in there. So
Yeah.
that's just my 2 cents on that situation, Mac.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think, again, we did a little vending right there. So thank you for
Yeah,
listening,
we needed
everyone.
that. We needed that.
There was a little emotion in there, some analysis, but a lot of emotion. I'll finish it by saying all this. Clemson's playing for an ACC championship.
Yeah.
Clemson controls all of their own destiny. This is playoff football. It's already been that way, but this, like, really, like, you lose, you're done type of situation where it's a whole new season. We've seen wild card teams in the NFL go on to win Super Bowls. Not predicting that, just saying it's a whole new world when you get into the playoff. You just have to be good that day. That's it. And so what can this team do? You know, it's going to be fascinating to see how do they take advantage of that. Are they mature enough? Are the coaches ready enough? Are they good enough as a whole to come together and do this? Because you're playing a very, very good team. And, you know, I'll get my little, I'm like broken ribs, broken legs staying here on the ground right now. Just got trampled. You ain't playing for a championship, Carolina. See you later. And I guarantee at the end of the day, Clemson might be in the playoff and you might be home watching. And that's going to be fascinating. And people will riot
Yeah.
if that happens. That's my only trash talking that I get to do none of because you beat our head in. But anyway, great job, Carolina, Clemson. Here we go. The Tigers won't die. Tigers won't die. 3 chances, KG. I've never seen anything like it. 3 times they get this opportunity. Can you make the most of it? Let's see. Let's find out.
And this is why I maintain that Clemson should never leave the ACC. But anyway,